Hello everyone, and this is BioPhoenix here, and today I'm going to be doing a topic on 5 RPG series that I missed out on. And this is a response video to Corpse Flood Gaming, who is actually a really good guy. I've talked to him a couple of times, but I mostly knew him from another channel that I'm good friends with, is The Game Grinder, where they too actually have run a podcast, and I do think that it is a really good podcast, and I do think it is worth checking out. And he mentioned a lot of good ones in his video. In fact, he actually mentioned one of my all-time favorites being Shadow Hearts on the PS2. So hopefully sometime in the future we'll hear more about his thoughts on that, because damn, it's a blast. But anyways, I really wanted to do a response video to this because this is a good topic, and even though for someone like myself who has played many different games and a lot of them are not the most popular, yet you'd be surprised that there is some games out there that are popular or ones that are semi-well known that for some reason, I just never played. So let's get started. So the first one I want to mention is the Arc the Lad collection on PS1. Now this is a tactical RPG series that is really interesting looking. I really like this art style of it. In fact, I actually do own the collection that was done by Working Designs, and I've had it since 2015, but yet I still never played it whatsoever. I know, I should be ashamed of myself. But every once in a while, I'll always try to look at the packaging, and then I'll open it up and just look at the art book and be like, man, this shit looks really good. But the one thing that always seems to make me kind of stray away from it is the fact that, you know, I love tactical RPGs as much as the next tactical RPG nut. But there's a lot of games in this set, and usually tactical RPGs are pretty long games, so because of that, I really have to be in the right mood and the right mindset to really sit down and play one of these games, so because of that, it just feels a little overwhelming knowing that I have 3 games to play within one package, but I just gotta realize and just be like, okay, let's just play the first one first, and let's just play through this one, then take a break, and then play 2, play through that one, take a break, and then do 3, and so on and so forth. And I never played the PS2 ones, but yeah, Arc the Lad is one of those series that looks like a really badass one, but I just really need to sit down and play it. But maybe one day, I might have to do a review on the entire collection. Maybe that might be something that might give me a bit more motivation. Now as for the second series I want to mention, now this is a huge ass series, and I have played a couple of the games in them, mostly being sub-series, and if in case you don't know what I'm talking about Dragon Slayer. So I have played a part of the Trails series, mostly being Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2, and then there was the first chapter of Trails in the Sky, and I really enjoyed those a hell lot. And I've also played 2 NES games that you may not think are related, but they actually kind of are, and that happens to be Phazanadu and Legacy of the Wizard. But the main one I really wanted to talk about here is the very first, Legend of Heroes. Now even though a lot of games within this series stayed only in Japan, this one came out on the TurboGrafx CD in North America, which is a huge surprise. But ever since I heard about this one a couple years ago, I've always wanted to play it, but unfortunately I just never did. But I have heard the music in it, and well, as to be expected from Neon Falcom, it's fucking fantastic, but then again, that's to be expected because, you know, Neon Falcom making bad music is just something that's just unheard of. But also to coincide with this is that there's other Legend of Heroes games that got remakes on the PSP. And these ones also came out to North America, but as again, I've never played them, and unfortunately the PSP is one of those systems that I haven't really played a lot of games for it, so of course there's a ton of games I could mention with just PSP games, but my main reason for wanting to play these ones is because I really want to see how the Legend of Heroes series started out. So yeah, technically I have played some games in the series, but not a lot of them, but I still am really curious to checking them out someday. Now this next one right here is one I actually did dabble with for a couple minutes, but I don't really count that as actually playing it, considering I wasn't reading any of the text and I was just kind of fucking about with it. So I can't really say much of an opinion on it, but just from what I've seen and from what little I've played, I can definitely tell it is going to be a game that I will really like, and that game being is Alundra. So this is an RPG series that plays more like Zelda, but the dungeons, from what I hear, are way more puzzle heavy. Now, even though there's only 2 games in the series and they are released on the PS1, well, there is another series that is related to it, and this is another one that I just haven't even touched at all, and that happens to be the Stalker series. So there's Landstalkers on the Genesis, then there's one on the Super Nintendo, which I forget the name of, but it was only released in Japan and you can actually play as a female character, and then there was one on the Dreamcast called Time Stalkers. So I'm including this one here with Alundra because the gameplay in those games are kinda similar, and as again, I never played any of them though, but I am aware of them. So yeah, it's another series I never heard of when it came out, but I ended up hearing about it much later on, and it did look like a pretty interesting one, and I still have yet to check it out. So yeah, that's another one on the to-do list. And next up we have is an RPG that has a really fucking cool ass battle system, and that one being is Legend of Legaia. As again, I never heard about this one until much later on, and when I heard about it, it actually got my interest because like I said, the battle system in this game looks pretty awesome. It's almost like a fighting game almost. And it kind of surprises me that none of the big fighting game franchises tried to make a spin-off RPG series but using this sort of battle system as a template. That actually would have been pretty badass. I can definitely see Soul Calibur doing that, and I would buy that shit. But yeah, I never played the one on PS1, and I never played the sequel on PS2, even though I hear that the PS2 one is not nearly as good, but I still may want to check it out at some point in time, because you never know, maybe I might like it. And as for the final game I want to mention here, this one is probably the most popular one on this list. And it might surprise you to know that I never played any of these games, at least if you've never heard any of my streams before, because I have mentioned it on there, but in case you haven't, then yeah, it might surprise you, and that series being any of these Star Ocean games from Tri-Ace. Now this is a series of games that I hear a lot of people talk about, and usually when people talk about them, the fans seem to be very diverse with each other. Kinda similar to the other Tri-Ace series known as Valkyrie Profile. So usually, the most common thing that I hear with the Star Ocean games is that you have to play Star Ocean 2 and say fuck the rest. But then I also hear other fans saying that Star Ocean 3 is at least worth playing. And same thing can be said about the first one, but I usually don't hear that many people talk about that one. And as for 4 and 5, I usually hear a lot of mixed things about them, where some people like them, some people hate them, and some people just think they're just kind of okay games. So because I never played any of these games and I always ask people about them, I always get very different results that are always varying, and because of this, it's kind of confusing on which one I really want to start with. In some ways, Star Ocean series kind of reminds me of the Growlancer series in the sense that like, the first one was like never released outside of Japan officially, and the storyline of the sequels are kind of all over the place. Where Growlancer 3 ends up being the prequel one, where the prequel one in Star Ocean, I don't even remember which one it is. Someone will probably say what it is, but either way, like I said, Star Ocean does look like a good one that I would really like. I just need to get my ass in gear and just play any one of them, just any of them really. So that takes care of the list I made of 5 RPG series that I missed out on and I just never played whatsoever. And hopefully in the future I will change that way. I will at least play one of these games within the series that they belong to. So before I end it, I just want to say thanks for Corpse Flood Gaming for coming up with this idea. I think it's a really good one, and of course I hope you guys check out his content, and with that said, thanks for watching and commenting, and have yourselves a great day.